Let's go to New York via the Coward Global Satellite Network. Peter King is joining us. You know, Peter, I was saying, with social media, you can see the snarkiest and the darkest stuff out there. I said, but life's about half full, half empty. I could say this weekend, I could give you about 7 quarterback matchups that are just awful. Or I could say to you, the 4 standalone games are Mariota and Big Ben, Derek Carr and Tom Brady, Matt Ryan and Russell Wilson. The 4 standalone games, I got Goff's story against the Vikings, and I also have an NFC playoff picture that's incredible right now. Let's talk NFC to you. Do you have a dark horse? Do you have a favorite? How do you feel about the NFC right now?
I think the NFC after 10 weeks is as strong as I ever remember it being. Because, Colin, look at it this way. Right now, the number 5 seed, Carolina, I don't even know if that's exactly what they are. I think it is.
Yeah.
But the number 5 seed, Carolina, might be better than the Carolina team that made it to the Super Bowl. I'm not saying that they are, but they might be. And they might not make it out of the first round. You know, they could be a road wild card team. And so that's why I think it's an absolutely fascinating year. And I think there are 2 X factors. Number 1, the Green Bay Packers, the next 4 weeks,
yes,
before Aaron Rodgers comes back, have 3 incredibly winnable games starting this Sunday against Baltimore.
Yep.
And so could the Packers, by the time Aaron Rodgers gets back, be a factor? And number 2, look, I don't know if this Rams team is going to hang on. This is a great test for them at Minnesota this weekend. But I'll just tell you this. You know, the last 4 seasons, the number 1 team in point differential in the NFL, the last 4 years, every year that team has made it to the Super Bowl.
Whoa.
And 3 years that team has won the Super Bowl. The Rams are way ahead in point differential after 10 weeks. So, I as my daughter would say, I'm just saying.
I got one of those young daughters too, Peter. You know, it really...
Yeah, but my daughter says that is 33. So,
You know, what's funny about the Rams, you know, there's some resentment by fans that, hey, they didn't deserve a team, and it's L.A., and, you know, everybody hates L.A., it's all glitzy. But I made this argument the other week. When Sean McVay got there, the D-line was good, the special teams were amazing, and if you look at their personnel, I can make an argument. Outside of maybe needing another corner, I can make an argument there is no more complete team in the league than the Rams, Peter. Left tackle good, receivers, tight end, quarterback, running back, kicker, punter, defensive interior lineman, linebacker. I think you're onto something here. I told the guys the other day, I said, if you just gave me the Rams stats, we would all be saying it's the best team in the league. If you gave those stats to New England, it would be the best team in the league, right? So I mean, part of that, though, Colin, you have to admit this, okay? You have to admit this. Because it's the Rams, and because nobody on this team has ever been to the promised land. You know, Andrew Whitworth has been to the playoffs a bunch of times, but they always lose. And you tell me, anybody else on that team, Connor Barwin on defense, you know, he's been to some playoff games, but nobody on that team has been to the promised land. And so therefore, when I look at this Rams team, you have to consider that. On the other side of the equation here, the Eagles are very much largely, an inexperienced playoff group. Yes.
The New Orleans Saints, with the exception of Breeze, very inexperienced playoff group. 7-9, 3 years in a row. And so, you know, Carolina's been there, but as I say, Carolina might be the 5th or 6th seed. So this is the Rams. I agree with you. You should look at them with a jaundiced eye. But also, you should look at everybody else in the NFC with a jaundiced eye.
So Brady will play Mexico City this weekend, and I actually like those games. It's in the same time zone. I thought that was very. I liked more than the London games. I like the Mexico City games. I don't think they're as inconvenient for NFL players and coaches and families. Let's just talk about Brady since he turned 39. One of the interesting components of this story is Belichick has run the team, but there's a large sense that Kraft did step in with Brady and say, listen, this guy's changed my net worth in my life. What do you make? You spent some time in Boston. I mean, Belichick doesn't talk to any of us, but what do you make of Brady's play? Do you believe Belichick is shocked? How do you think Belichick, okay, you know how Bill is. He wants to get rid of a guy a year early, not a year late. What do you make of, how do you think Belichick perceives this Brady growth?
You know, Colin, since turning 39 years old, and now he's 40, obviously, regular season games, 47 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions. You know, that's the most insane statistic for the AARP generation. You know, George Blanda, Warren Moon, Brett Favre, nobody in NFL history can touch the way this guy is playing at this age. And I'll only make this one point about Belichick looking at him. Belichick just looks at reality. And Belichick understands, and I believe that even though this wasn't the biggest part, and I believe it shouldn't have been the reason why he did this, in my opinion, I think the reason why he did this thing with Garoppolo is that he said, look, I'm not going to be able to pay both of these guys next year. And this way, I can probably send him so that I'm not going to have somewhere where I'm not going to have to play him twice a year. If he goes to Cleveland, he's not signing long term.
Right.
They're going to franchise him, and maybe the Jets or Dolphins could steal him, or Bills. But anyway, the only thing I would say is seeing is believing. And, you know, I was with Jason Witten down in Dallas this week. Jason Witten, as a 35-year-old, is having another incredible season. He has not missed an NFL game since he was 20 years old.
Wow.
So he's played every game for the last 14 years. You know how many practices he's missed? 2. And we spent about a half hour talking about Tom Brady and how is he doing it. And so, I mean, guys around the league look at Brady and they just go like this. But I think one of the keys for Brady is he knows that he can last if this lifestyle for him continues. If this is 365, if he does it every day, he can continue this a while longer and he doesn't get a freak injury. So if I'm the Patriots, I'm riding him.
You know, when you look at, I want to talk New York Giants. You're in New York today. They have kind of a history where they hit a home run with a coach, then they maybe miss a little. McAdoo's doesn't look like he has much of a future. I just threw this out there. I said, they don't want to miss again. The division looks like with Dak Prescott and with Wentz, even with Kirk Cousins. Boy, there's rough sledding now in the NFC East. It's not getting easier. They need to get this coaching job right. So they just whiffed on a coordinator up to a head coach. Do you think they would call a Harbaugh or a Saban? The Giants are a huge blue blood brand. They just whiffed on a coordinator. Maybe the Mara family, Peter's not willing to take that chance again, and they're going to go after a big name.
I probably wouldn't be shocked if they called those guys, and I don't know about Harbaugh, but I feel pretty strongly that Nick Saban is not going to go to New Jersey. His decision-making process, you know, it's 1 and 1A. It's he and his wife, Terry. And I get the feeling that she has basically said, sort of like David Shaw's wife at Stanford,
Yeah.
You know, you're going to have to convince. He told me this last year. He said, all these people are telling me about the NFL. And he said, look, I think I have one of the greatest jobs ever in coaching. And if I go anywhere, if anybody calls me, the first thing you're going to have to do is convince my wife it's a nicer place than Palo Alto. And so I think that Nick Saban won't go. I don't know about Harbaugh, but it just doesn't feel like Harbaugh is going to leave Michigan yet, if ever. I think they're probably more likely to go, you know, NFL coordinator type. I don't know that. It's just my guess. You know, I'd be surprised if they didn't at least look into, say, Josh McDaniels and what he's done with Brady in New England and see if he can revive Manning for a while.
Yeah.
But I think it's more likely to be an NFL coordinator.
Sunday, it's a great slate of games on Fox as the Redskins take on the Saints, or you'll see 2 of the NFL's surprise teams collide when the Rams battle the Vikings or other regional action. It all starts at 1 p.m. Eastern on Fox. Check your local listings for the game in your area. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from the newest show on FS1, First Things First, with Chris Carter and Nick Wright.